kingdom, find the person who has heard the hadith from the Holy Prophet himself. So all the guards, all the people, all the officials, they send people around, they start searching. Finally, they find this one little guy, right? He's extremely old, he cannot move, he cannot eat, he barely breathes, right? So they actually have him they have put him in a basket in order, just to make sure that he remains alive as we speak to, right? So they find him, and with whatever difficulty it is, they bring him to the palace of Harun, right? So they bring him to the palace of Harun. Harun becomes very happy to finally find somebody who has heard a hadith directly from the Holy Prophet. He tells him to bring him closer to him. So he asks him, did you hear something from the Holy Prophet yourself? He barely raises his voice, like at 150 years, how much of the voice do you have, right? And he says, yes, I was a very young kid when one day my father took my hand and he went to a majlis of Holy Prophet, and that's when I heard a hadith from him directly. Harun even becomes more excited. So he says immediately, he replies immediately, he says, so what did he tell you on that majlis? The old guy thinks a little bit, he says, the Holy Prophet told me on that majlis that Yashibu ibn Adam wa tashukku ma'ahu khaslatan aw ithnan. There are two riwayas here, right? The son of Adam becomes old, Yashibu ibn Adam wa tashukku ma'ahu khaslatan. At the same time, two characters becomes old with him, or becomes greater with him, becomes more, becomes bigger with him, right? What are those two? Al-hirs wa tulal amal. One is hirs, greed. Second one is tulal amal, these long wishes, these long plans, these long desires, right? I want this, then I want this, then I want that, right? This we call it the tulal amal, this long wish. So Harun, he's in the sun in the sky. He's like, wow, mashallah, he does whatever he has to do. So he tells the guard to bring one, bag full of golden coins, and he gives it as a present to this old guy. So they put it in the basket. Of course, he cannot hold the golden coin, right? And they pick up the basket as if they're about to leave the palace. He barely raises his hand. He catches the attention of the guard, and then he says, I have to go back and speak to Harun again. They tell him, he's Harun. He has no jokes. He doesn't do any kidding around. Like he has no time for it. He's like, no, this is a very important matter. I have to speak with him. So they bring the basket back again. They ask everybody to move aside. They take him to Harun, and Harun looks at him and says, well, what do you want? The old guy barely raises his voice again. He says, oh Harun, the amount of money that you gave me, is this a one-time deal, or am I going to receive this on a yearly basis? Harun looks at him, starts laughing, and says, indeed, in fact, the Holy Prophet has mentioned the right matter. Yashibu ibn Adam wa tashukku ma'ahu khaslatan al-hirs wa tulal amal. So he repeats the hadith. He says, indeed, the Holy Prophet said the truth. As the person gets older, two character becomes younger in a sense in him. One is greediness, the second one is long wishes. Like this guy cannot even make it to the door. Even if he makes it to the door, he doesn't know how to spend this one bag full of golden coins. Yet again, he's asking for whether it's a one-time deal or it's on a yearly basis. Huh? So this shows us that if the person lives in this life without any plan, what's going to happen? He or she is just going to remain within these 5 categories. This is the old guy, meaning he's at the last stage. He's only thinking about takathur. He's only thinking about the extra of whatever he has, right? He's not thinking of the hereafter. He's only thinking of whatever he has in hand, right? So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the remaining of the ayah says, كَمَثَلَ غَيْثْ أَعْجَبَ الْكُفَّارِ نَبَاتُهُ. He says all of these 5 stages of life, right, in which Allah mentioned, is an example of a heavy rain, in which all of a sudden it starts pouring down. So when we have heavy rains, after the heavy rains we have all this green luscious coming out, and we have all of this natural scene that makes the person go wow, right? So Allah says كَمَثَلَ غَيْثْ أَعْجَبَ الْكُفَّارِ نَبَاتُهُ. All of these 5 stages, it uses the example, the metaphor for it, as if it's a heavy rain in which brings out a lot of green and a lot of fruits, in a way that the kuffar, the unbelievers, they go like, wow about it. They cannot like, take it in. They get admired by it and they get astonished by it, right? ثم يهيج فتراه مصفرا. All of a sudden, ثم يهيج, it's like a second, as if like you turn the page around, that the entire like greenish and fruit and all the fruits and all the bounties, it changes to a complete pure land of nothing. Just like a blink of an eye, right? ثم يكون حطاما وفي الآخرة عذاب شديد ومغفرة من الله ورضوان. Then comes the reality, right? It talks about akhirah. The very same 5 stages in the akhirah, it could be of 2. Either it's the hell and the fire and the punishment, or the forgiveness and the heaven and all the bounties from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. So indeed, this life of the dunya is nothing except for this, you can say, presence of ghurur, of being like, arrogance about it. What's the meaning of ghurur? Ghurur is when you take something, right? And then when you feel good about that specific thing that you have taken, but in reality that thing there is nothing in it. Imagine if you take an empty ball, and there is nothing within that ball, and you still feel like you have become like a champion. Imagine you take like a treasure box, right? And then you think that it's filled with money, and all of a sudden when you open it, it's like there is nothing. There's not a single dime in that treasure box. How do you feel about it? But before you know that there's nothing in it, how would you feel about it? The second feeling, we call it ghurur, meaning that you feel good about something, that there's nothing actually in it, right? وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. Meaning that all of this, the entire life of dunya, is nothing except for something that it makes people arrogant about something that is not even there. Why it's not there? We know, all of this stuff is here, right? We can sense it, we can feel it, we can we have the bank account, we can see the dollars going out. So why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says mata'ul ghurur? Just in a split of second, all of that becomes as if it's nothing. Actually becomes worse than nothing. If it was nothing, it was good. It becomes a responsibility, right? The more you have, the more you will be accountable. The less you have, the less you will be accountable, right? That was one of the Ahmadi teachers. He was saying that a lot of people, when they go to ziyarah, it's interesting sometimes when you go to ziyarah, just sit back and listen to what people pray for. He was saying, sometimes you go to ziyarah and you don't feel like, reciting the ziyarah nama, you don't feel like offering the prayer and stuff. Just sit back and see how the other desires are connecting with the imam, for example. And sometimes you hear the prayers. Some of them are mashallah very good, but every so often you hear this very funny prayers in a sense, right? So, but if you put all of them together, what do we usually ask when we go for ziyarah? When we usually pray, what do we ask? We always ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us more. Oh Allah, give me a better job. Oh Allah, give me a better salary. Oh Allah, give me a better, not wife, but give me a good wife. Oh Allah, give me good children, right? Oh Allah. So it's like always we want more and more and more, right? Versus in reality it should be what? Oh Allah, give me what you think I deserve to continue on the right path. Right? So we have to change the prayer a little bit. It's like, when I go to a doctor, and it's a silly example. When I go to the doctor and I have absolutely no idea about medicine or biology or anatomy, right? And I tell him, oh doctor, I know what's wrong with me. I want you to give me these pills as a prescription. How would a doctor feel like? It's like, what are you talking about? So when we go and we want to pray, right? As if we're making these orders for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh, I want this, and that, and this, in these conditions. A lot of times we actually make the conditions too. I want a wife and I want it right now. I want to make it right on the spot. It's like, so we be so demanding about it. Versus in reality it should be opposite. If we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator, right? If we say we are the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that means He knows everything about us. So when we have to do praying, that's why a lot of people, they say when you pray, don't even ask for anything. Just see what He will give you. Even when you go to ziyarah, right? The same thing. We say Imam has the divine knowledge, right? Given to him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning that he sees everything, the in and out of us. He knows our background, he knows our characteristics, he knows our flaws, right? Yet again, they're so merciful that they accept everybody. And when you talk about the mercy of the Imams, let me just give you one story. It's a sidetrack, but it's an interesting story. I'm sure everybody has heard of the name Shaikh Tahawi. He's buried in Mashhad, right? So he was a famous scholar who knew a lot of different sciences. One of them was engineering, right? So when he comes to Mashhad, one of the intention he has, right? He makes his intention to build the gateway, the entrance gate of the Holy Shrine of Imam Raza in a way that only the pious and honest people will enter the Holy Shrine. Imagine if you have a security gate, instead of like beeping when you have a metal on you, it beeps when you, for example, when you have light. It becomes very scary, right? Or it beeps when you're like a hypocrite, right? So he knows ulum al-ghariba. It's a long story, right? So he makes the intention, he makes the plan for it to make sure that he puts the entrance door in a way that only those who are pious and honest will enter the Holy Shrine of Imam Raza. So he plots the plan. Tomorrow, for example, he's about to give it to the people to actually start building it. On the very same night, he has a dream. Who comes to the dream? Imam Ali ibn Musa. He comes to the dream and he says, "Oh Shaykh Tahawi, what are you doing? We are the Imam al-Rahmah. The door is open for everybody. Whoever wants to come in is welcome. You have absolutely no right to put such a gate in my holy shrine." Which is why we call Imam al-Raza the Imam al-Ra'uf, right? There's a difference between Ra'uf and Rahim, for example. We say Rahim is someone who's like kind and merciful, right? When you ask them for something, they will be generous, they will give it to you. This is a definition of Rahim, for example. But when we say Ra'uf, Ra'uf is one step higher. It's like when you ask them something, they don't even make you work for it. Simple example, sometimes, at the end of the semester, when you're a lazy student like me, you go to your teacher and you ask for extra credit, right? If the teacher is nice, they'll give you some extra, like for example, activity. They tell you to go do these researches and then come back and see me then. We'll talk about the extra credit, right? But sometimes you go and before you even ask the teacher for extra credit, you don't deserve it, right? Before even you ask the teacher for extra credit, he or she is going to make you a C- or B+, for example. Without you even doing any extra work. This is the meaning of Ra'uf. So it's known that Imam al-Rida, eighth Imam, is known as Imam al-Ra'uf. Recite the salawat. So let's go back to our topic. Lifetime of this dunya summarized in 5 categories, right? So what's the difference between believer and unbeliever in going through these 5 stages? Because once we say the dunya is, it's limited to these 5 stages, that doesn't mean that believers will not go through it. No, that's the same thing, right? Amir al-Mu'minin used to pick up a shovel, right? He used to dig the ground, make well for the water to gush out, and then, he used to actually make palm tree gardens, right? The very same thing was done by other people as well. So what's the difference, right? The path is the same in this dunya. What is the difference between a believer and unbeliever? Actually, again, interesting story. One day, the middle of the day, Amir al-Mu'minin is working on the ground, he's shoveling the ground, he's digging the ground, and interesting, a couple other companions, a couple other Arabis, they're sitting close to where Amir al-Mu'minin is working, under the shade, right? And they're just watching Amir al-Mu'minin work. They're taking their time, they're resting. So it happened that on the same day, Amir al-Mu'minin actually reached the water. So the minute water gushed down from the land, well, that time water was like pure gold, right? If you had water, basically as if you had a couple of Teslas in that time, right? So the minute water, gushed out from the ground, they started, going towards the well, and they started, congratulating Amir al-Mu'minin for such a blessing. And they were saying the phrases they were using, that wow, congratulate you for this, achievement. Now you're a rich man. Now you can do whatever you want. Now you can buy whatever you want. No? This is the mentality of someone who is only focused and is stuck with the stages of dunya. What does Amir al-Mu'minin do? The minute he gets out of the well, he doesn't even wipe out the sweat from digging the ground. He asks for what? He asks for a piece of paper and a pen, And right there and right then, he does an endowment, he does waqf for that wealth. Right? So do you see the difference? Everything he gains it for a higher purpose. Everything he works for a higher purpose. So at that time, we can see the economy of the Muslims was in a very bad condition. So one of the major things to do was to help the economy grow. So one of the things that makes the economy grow is actually to create the very basic necessities of life, including water and food and sustenance, right? So immediately Amir al-Mu'mineen endows and gives that as a waqf for the sake of the Muslims. And we have sections, not piece of papers. Imagine if you list all the stuff that you do good, 1 page, 2 page, 3 page. No, we have sections on how much Amir al-Mu'mineen has actually been given away for the sake of the public. Versus if it's me, right, the minute I get my hand on that one, what I'm going to think of? How I'm going to make investment on it, how I'm going to make the profit of the triple or quadruple, right? The typical mentality of materialistic view. So, what is this materialistic view? Is looking at the dunya as it is.